Now, burp and fart taxes. I spoke about this insane probability at the top of the show. But Australia is set to pledge its support to reduce global methane emissions by 30% by 2030. 8 years away because we come onto this pledge late. We need to talk about this madness further because I know my next guest will be fired up about it. Joining me now is YouTuber and commentator Daisy Cousens. Daisy, always fabulous to have you here. A burp tax, maybe even a flatulence tax. This has to be one of our lowest points in climate obsession, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really not great, and I just think it's so funny that Anthony Albanese seems to be taking a leaf out of Jacinda Ardern's book, because she, of all people, has really gone heavy on it. I was reading what her proposed thingy for this is today. She's proposed putting a levy on methane emissions from farms, which is, of course, going to cause farmers a world of grief. Somewhere like New Zealand, given just the sheer magnitude of how big the farming industry is, there are only about 5 million people living in New Zealand, but there's something like 10 million cows and 26 million sheep. So they're in a position where about half of their emissions actually come from cattle. So if you are trying to levy the farmers, well, eventually you're going to completely destroy their farms. There are heads of the Farmers Union saying that farmers are going to be selling up incredibly quickly. Jacinda has parried back and said that a way to recoup the cost of the levy would be for farmers to simply charge more for what she calls climate-friendly products, which is, of course, going to make cost of living even harder for New Zealanders because the food will be too expensive. If I were a terribly cynical person, Chris, I would say that, maybe Jacinda Ardern just hates people so much she's trying to starve everyone. But look, I guess it's very good that I'm not a cynical person now, isn't it?
Of course, Daisy. But either way this goes, taxes, levies or whatever, it's about putting up the price so that we can reduce methane and we can save the planet. Of course, New Zealand can save the planet from Dunedin, right?
Oh, absolutely, yes, because given the large amount of emissions they put out, I mean, you mentioned so rightly in your editorial at the start that Australia has such a small proportion of the world's emissions that, we could go to 100% renewables tomorrow and make no difference at all to the temperature of the planet. New Zealand has even less emissions, so they'll make even less of a difference. But the joke is that the opposition party has actually argued that this could jack up the world's emissions because if there's less meat produced in New Zealand, a lot more will be produced overseas in places that aren't as energy efficient. So total own goal either way and very hard for farmers.